Okay. So connect if you're feeling like you don't have a story to tell, then who do you know that boosts your confidence? Who do you know that really believes in you? Like what teacher at your school, right? Which parent, which relative really helps you shine? Go talk to that person so you can come up with a story that focuses on you where you have all the main character energy. All right. Now, even if you bring in other people, make sure they're secondary to what it is you have to say about yourself, right? You can just pick one event in your life, and then also somewhere, whether you do it, with a lot of attention and it's really obvious or not, make sure you link it back to the school, to the program that you're interested in. But number one is focus on you and find people that you can work with to help you do that in your personal statement, your main essay, your Common App essay, those types of essays.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So my two cents. So I had before Road to Uni had a program called the 10-day essay challenge where I helped students write their personal statement in 10 days. I no longer do it because I do Road to Uni full time, but I worked with many students, and there was something that I saw come up with a lot of students, and that was that they didn't know. Students oftentimes don't really know what to say in their essays, right? But something that you have to keep in mind is that aside from telling your story, which is a great way to tell admissions officers about yourself, you also have to um, express your thoughts in a way that will make admissions officers realize like this would be a valuable person to have on campus. This person would really add to the classroom discussions, right? And so when you think about it, it's like, how do I do that? And here's the thing, your story is your vehicle, right? Your story is how you talk about things. It is, if you think about it, it's like a car. And then the other things in your essay that you have to include are like the suitcases in the car or your clothes in the car. It's like different things that go into the car as you're going to make your point. So you start with your story, right? You start with maybe like a hook, right, which everyone talks about. Um, and then you go into how that story, how that thing that happened to you, how that topic um, made you more aware of the world, made you think about the world differently. How did it teach you something? How did it help you grow, right? You really want to talk about your growth because that is so important. If you can only imagine how many students are, I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of students that apply to college every year. And you have to think about how are you going to be different than the students that have your same exact grades. And the reason why people say your story is so important, the only thing that can help you stand out, it's because everyone, it's shaped differently by the things that happen to them, the things that they experience, right? And so if you're a student and you're writing your personal statement right now and you really want to stand out, it's great to tell your story, but don't forget to talk about how you've grown from that experience. And that doesn't mean that you have to write about obstacles. It doesn't mean that you have to write about things that you have necessarily like overcome, like life or death. A lot of students feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have like this crazy experience that happened to me. So it means that I can't stand out. And that's not true at all, right? I mean, you have to be yourself. You have to talk about the things that you care about, the things that are important to you. And that could be told through a funny story. That can be told, sorry, my dog is growling in the background, but that can be told through a funny story, through anything that really encapsulates your personality. It doesn't have to be like a sob story, right? But just don't forget to talk about how you've grown, how you are a better person, and what are the things that you're going to bring to campus, to the student body, to your classroom discussions. I could honestly probably do a whole workshop around this, how to tell your story without in an asset framed mentality instead of the things that have affected you and how that is so sad, which we don't want to do. We don't want to put your traumas out on the paper, and those are things that you should not be doing. But I'll leave you with that. Just the fact that you have to tell your story, but don't forget to talk about your growth as well. It's not just the story, it's really secretly a way of college admissions representatives seeing how you can, how and what you can contribute to the campus culture.
Right. And then if I could just go back to that, if people are really looking for starter material, start with something that you love. Okay. Start with something you love, something you like, or you're curious about. Even if it seems like it will be basic and boring to other people, let that go. If you love it, then there are ways that you can describe it in a very interesting way. As Cielo said, in ways that have shown that you've grown through that love and that you can contribute to whatever community you're most interested in being at in the coming years. So that's great advice that she gave as well.
Thank you both so much. Like, you both have beautiful answers that are super, super important. Definitely talking about you, talking about your growth, talking about your passions and your interests. So thank you so much for that. And I hope some people were taking notes, because I know an essay is a really hard thing to do. But next thing I wanted to ask, this was kind of hinted at a little bit, but you did both briefly mention about standing out. And I think that's also something that many students can be concerned about. It's like thousands of people apply to all these schools every single year. How am I supposed to stand out from the crowd? And obviously the essay is a really big part, but are there other ways that you both would recommend for a student to stand out during the admission cycle?
Yeah, I'll take the first stab at this question this time around. So when you're applying to college as a senior in high school, obviously you have very limited things that you can do, right? You're at a point where you're already applying. You can't really go and do a lot of extracurriculars necessarily that will show up in your immediate application. But you should do those if they really interest you, because you can update colleges later on, right? Especially if you are waitlisted. But in terms of standing out, one of the things that you can certainly do, and I would not shy away from, is that if you have certain situations, certain things that you're going through, certain things that you've had to do to help your family or to help yourself through high school, don't shy away from communicating that to college admissions representatives, right? Because a lot of students, I speak to students all the time, and sometimes I ask them, okay, so like, what do you do? Or do you have like any internships that you want to put on your application? And they're like, no, I actually haven't done anything. I'm like, are you sure you haven't done anything? Well, tell me what, your week looks like. And then somehow in the conversation, they'll say, oh, well, I work at a deli, right? Like down the block from my house. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that so that we could, put it, like, we should definitely put this on your application. And a student will be like, well, colleges don't want to see that I worked at a deli, right? Like I haven't done a fancy like internship. I haven't, done those kinds of things that colleges want. And I'm like, whoa, what makes you think that your experience is not valuable? What makes you think that working at a deli is not as valuable as like a fancy internship, as you say? And they're like, well, I just didn't think colleges would want to see that. And I'm like, no, like that's incorrect, 100% incorrect. And so I encourage you, if you work wherever you work, whether it's your parents' business or helping out, or whether you babysit all the time because your parents have to go to work, and you're like babysitting, those are my siblings. Like that's, I don't get paid for it. It doesn't matter, because those circumstances that you have been dealt are things that make you stand out. Because if on top of that you're doing really well in school, and you're excelling with your grades and test scores or extracurricularly even, and on top of that you have those responsibilities, that's kind of amazing, because you have to understand that you're taking on responsibilities that adults have to do. Working, taking care of family members is an adult job, right? Helping your parents translate documents sometimes. A lot of students don't know that these things matter or can make a difference. And the truth is that they absolutely do, because it communicates to college admissions officers that you are doing way more than what just a student should be doing, and way more than just what many other students do, because they have the liberty to just focus on school and extracurriculars. right? And so mentioning those things can definitely help you stand out, because if you don't communicate these things, college admissions officers have no idea that you are having to balance all these different, juggle all these different balls in your life. And they are comparing you with students who have done the same things you have done, but without all those extra obstacles in your path. And I think that that's just amazing when students can handle all those things. So definitely make sure to point those things out. And the other one is the essay, but you said aside from the essay. So that's just my 2 cents on aside from the essay. But
Right, right.
Lorraine, go
And
ahead.
thank you. So aside from the essay, I'll focus particularly on the Common App and the UC application, University of California application, since a lot of my students tend to fill out both those applications, right? So with both of those, you have an activities list. And then quite often with the UCs, they actually break up the activities to, paid work, internship, other types of extracurriculars, right? But on the Common App, you have the 10 activities that you can fill out, right? That is definitely a place where you can stand out, okay? You can tailor that to the majors that you're most interested in, even in the way that you describe your activities, in the activities that you choose. Like Ciela was just saying, if you work at a deli, you put that in there, okay? You talk about how you're leading, how you're communicating. There is a way that you can make that deli example fitting for whatever major you're most interested in, right? So you want to make sure that you do a great job there, because I think oftentimes students are so focused on the essay, right, that they forget to really take a lot of care and attention when it comes to those activities lists, right? So any part of your life, right? If you're a person that you do a lot with family, okay, then write about the activities that you do with your family on the activities list, right? Schools are not just looking for a bunch of academic stuff or only club involvement at school and stuff like that. Now that's great, put that in there. And even when you describe those things, make sure you all are describing that stuff in unique, interesting ways that even though, the fields, for the UCs, you have a lot more room to fill that out, but on the Common App, you don't even have that much room to describe those activities. But I promise you, if you challenge yourself in that brief space, you can still make that sound unique to you. So it's a very, I say easy in a sense that I think a lot of students don't often focus on that, but challenging when you need to raise your level of writing, right? So that you really show how you're different on that one part of your application. And then another thing you should do is on the Common App, on the UCS application, on many other applications, there are often spaces for additional comments, additional essays that say that they're optional. They're never optional. Use those to stand out.
Okay, thank you. I love the answers. I love the depth that both of y'all's answers provided. Yeah, snaps, like Rachel said, that was awesome. Especially, I guess, the focus on all the different ways that you can make an impact and stand out that students don't necessarily think about, whether that's through your activities, whether that's through integrating it into your essay, however you go about it, your story has value. And I love
Always.
specifically how we highlighted, Lorraine, the UC's application, because I'm a former Bruin. So the UC application is my bread and butter as well. And even when applying to college myself, did not know that some of the things that I did had as much value as they did to get me to a place like that. I think we all have a tendency to underestimate ourselves or kind of negatively speak about ourselves to ourselves and be like, everything. I'm kind of, Ciela mentioned it as well, kind of belittling. Okay, well, I'm babysitting my siblings. That doesn't really count, but it absolutely does. The way that you use your time, the way that those circumstances facilitate growth for you, that's a part of your story. And that's what college admissions officers are looking for. So I appreciate both of you for sharing that answer. And hopefully y'all students, parents, college counselors, you also received that and it resonated with you as well. We did have a question from one of the students in the audience. Caroline wants to know what the biggest challenge or lesson you learned from the challenge that you went through on your own college journey for each of you. I know it's a big question, as much as you're willing to share.
I'll go ahead and start. And I would say for me, if people joined us earlier, I mentioned, that I started the college admissions process at 15. And I think a decade and a half later, I was still in college. Okay. I have a few degrees. And so one of the most important things would actually be the pre part of the journey. Okay. And doing as much reflecting as you can, picking a major base or majors based on what you love. In this day and age, technology is at everybody's fingertips. So it's so much easier to do the research than when I first started. Okay. I'll tell on myself a little bit, right at my age. But do that research, go with what you love, even if the people around you do not fully believe in it, because they're not going to be paying back your student loans. Okay. They're not the ones applying for the scholarships. They're not the ones that have to go to class every day, have to have that major, and will be living their lives through the career that you choose. Okay. Or the careers that you choose. So, do as much research, do what you love, and at the same time, figure out how doing what you love can maximize your income. Because I would love it if everybody on this call today could graduate from college and start off making six figures, because people out there are doing that. So why not us? All right. So yes, I would say the pre-planning is huge, and picking a community where you think you will fit in, ignore the brand name. Where can you be your best person and develop the most over that 4 to 6 years plus whatever grad school you might want to go to?
I love that, Lorraine. So for me, I had a little bit of trouble with the question. I wasn't sure what that challenge meant, but I'm just gonna speak on like the biggest challenge that I went through throughout my college application journey. So there was one in particular, I struggled with telling my story, which is why I became so obsessed with it later on, while applying to college. And then once I got into a few colleges, I struggled with choosing between two colleges specifically. And so the first part of that, telling my story, I remember just being so nervous and so anxious that I couldn't put everything into 650 words. I felt like there was so much about me that I wanted to say. And every version that I wrote of my story, I was like, wait, but it doesn't say this. And wait, like, I didn't include this, though. I think that they should know this about me. And it was really tough. And so that's why years later, my advice for writing the personal statement became, focus on one story and one trait that you really want to tell. Do you really want colleges to know about you, right? We all have different traits as human beings. Unfortunately, we cannot bring all of those to the table in a 650 word essay. It's just too little space. So choose one, and from that trait really bring home how that trait has developed within you through your story. So anyway, telling my story was a really tough time for me while applying to college. So I completely sympathize and empathize with students who have a hard time with the essay. And then, months later, when I got into, I think several of the colleges I'd applied to, maybe there were like one or two that I didn't get into, but my top two choices, deciding between my top two choices was the hardest thing. So I got into Wellesley College, which was my number one. It's a private women's college in Massachusetts, and I wanted to go there because Hillary Clinton had gone there, and I admired her as a woman. So I was like, I want to go there. I don't have a lot of like gal friends. I want to make more gal friends and all this stuff, and so I really wanted to go there. But the other college that I was deciding, I'm trying to decide between was the University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, right? Which is an Ivy League school. And I knew that it was an Ivy League school, and a lot of people were like, go to the Ivy League, obviously. Like, why are you even thinking about it? And the crazy part is that UPenn was like covering everything for me, right? Again, I was very low income, so it's like their award letter said like I had to contribute zero versus Wellesley College, which is also a very generous college, but smaller, so they don't have as much money, I guess, to give to a lot of students, was telling me that I was gonna have to contribute like 1,500 or $2,000 a year. So it was really tough. because everyone was pushing me through to UPenn, but I went to visit the campus. It was like New York City. It felt like New York City a lot. And I was like, I want to leave New York City. Like, I want to go to a completely different place. So anyway, I felt that pressure, but I felt I was just in love with Wellesley. And so when it comes to choosing the best fit college, I ended up choosing Wellesley College, because I was like, okay, I have a scholarship. I can cover what they don't cover. This is where I feel like I need to be to really grow my confidence as a woman. And that's where I ended up going. And it was really hard though to not give in to the pressure of a lot of people telling me just choose the Ivy because it's the Ivy, you know? And I don't think that, going on Lorraine's point, like you don't have to choose a college just because of its fancy name. You really have to make sure that you feel like you fit in there. You feel like you're gonna grow there. You're gonna be there for 4 years, and it's not just about the name or its reputation. It's about how it's going to help you develop and, like Lorraine said, get a job after college, and how it's going to help you reach your goals. So, and to be honest, to everyone here, like after some time, it doesn't even, like when you're an adult, where you went to college is just a footnote. Like, yeah, it's great, it's awesome. Like maybe you know, connect with people who went to the same college here and there, or on the same coast even, but where you went to college becomes a footnote, and it's more about your experiences in the workspace and what you do with your life. A lot of people don't even pay much attention to where you go, and that's the truth for like across different fields. Again, for some things it matters, like graduate school, some like depending on the field, but honestly overall, like I just wouldn't give it that much time and space and energy as you're looking at colleges now.
Can I add something to your answer, Cielo, if that's okay?
Yeah, of course, go for it.
So, you know, the part you were talking about, what that was really challenging for you was telling your story, right? And so for many of my clients, that's often the most challenging part. For me, I like to talk a lot. That was not necessarily my most challenging part. It was, you know, figuring out what I wanted to do, right? But I want to add for students that are here, and even for parents that are with us, for the student, write whatever it is you feel you need to write eventually, even if you go well beyond the 650 words. Now, I probably wouldn't go beyond too far beyond 1,200 words, but write a ton, get it all out, and then find someone who can look at that with you and help you pull out the most important parts. That way you get it all out, right? But then somebody can help you see like, oh, well, this is the best part, or, you know, this is, if you wrote about multiple stories in one, this is the best story, or, you know, work with someone who can help you edit it down, because sometimes getting it out on paper, all of it, is a very important part of the process. So I just wanted to add that for people who struggle with that, because that's one of the most common struggles. You know, how do I tell my story?
Thank you so much for both of your answers. I love that. I really do. And just the feedback. Oh yeah, Caroline also thanks the both of you for your answers, for your honesty, for your reflection as well. And I think that was a great question. Oh, loving the love here. This is so beautiful. I definitely agree with that. And this is a conversation if y'all want to have later on, or if you want us to do another iteration of this, definitely again, let Rachel and I know, because kind of like a mixture of what Cielo and Lorraine had addressed in their answers is really life kind of becomes more about what you do with the opportunity of the college that you choose to go to. It's not actually the name itself. Like you can take whatever college you end up going to, community college and transferring, going to four-year college, associate's degree, trade school. Like it's really about what you do with that opportunity. So definitely don't think that you have to go down one path. That was definitely something I struggled with as well, particularly from my family's background. I know Rachel and I are both Nigerian. And so there can culturally, I know, especially for immigrant families as a whole, there can be a lot of emphasis on which school that you go to. It was definitely like that for me as well. And I ended up choosing a school that I enjoyed both for what it valued and also something that aligned with me, and also something, a place where I felt like I could learn and grow, and I did. So that is what we should all be looking for in any space that you choose to go into. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I love this conversation. I wish we could have, I'm sure we could have it all night. But we do have some other topics for this evening. We do have a question as well, but I think that question is actually a really great segue to the seminar that we'll be having after our little pep rally break. But the question is about the mixture of finances with school, and should you choose a school based on, needing to pay 100K long term, like, or should you choose a school that's going to give you a lot of money? Kind of addressing Cielo's answer as well. But we have Vicky, who will be here after a little break, and she will give y'all a lot of good insight onto finding scholarships, what that process can look like, and how that influences the choice of which school to go to. Yeah.
And then add before we segue, in the beginning, do not look at the price. Do not focus on when you're trying to pick your college list, do not only focus on price, because you don't know how much money a school might give you. So be free when you first choose, and choose based on, the majors, the fit, the community, how you think you'll grow. Start off there. Don't eliminate schools just because you think they're too expensive.
Yeah, I feel that. Second that. Thank you for pointing that out, because that's a very true fact. And it happens to all of us. And so many, yeah. Price is not the only factor when considering schools. And definitely don't let it be a deterrent, like the price of a school, because you never know what can happen. You never know how much funding they'll give you. You'll never know how they receive you in, their admissions class. It sounds like we have a lot of different stories here tonight of people who discovered how much the college valued them after receiving the application, but you have to shoot your shot first. So shoot your shot, see what happens. You never know. But thank you, Lorraine, for your wisdom. Thank you, Cielo, for your wisdom, for your insight, for your resources to the students. We really appreciate your feedback, your stories, your presence here this evening. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yes, thank you for putting this together. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, anytime. Well, truly, anytime. Okay. So that was our Conquering College Admissions conversation for the evening. This is an active conversation. So Lorraine, Cielo, they both have incredible platforms where they discuss these topics regularly. You can definitely follow them. They have materials that are also in the swag bag. So check out the swag bag, support them, support their businesses and their brands, find them on Instagram, which we'll circle back to that a little bit later, and ask them more questions if you have them. They're available to you for that. Now, before we talk about finances, because that is probably the number one conversation we all want to have about the college admission process, because it influences, where do I go? Where should I be? And I mean, yeah. So we'll have that conversation in a few minutes. But first, we have our lovely DJ for the culture who is gonna play us some vibes. I feel like I sound so corny, but
Wow, I love it. I love it. All right. So we're just gonna have a little pep rally break. So, stretch your legs, get a snack, and enjoy these tunes. And we're gonna start back in a few minutes. Ooh, music. Okay.
bathroom, a snack, any of the things really. And we're going to continue on Diversity University Summit with our securing the bag conversation with Vicky Lamar, who she's a fantastic person, such a fangirl of her. She works in tandem with Insight quite often, supporting students. She's an award-winning scholarship expert and coach that has helped over 4,000 students win a total of $20 million. So she knows her stuff about the scholarship things, and her story about how she navigated undergrad and how she's used that to now support students through securing degrees is incredible. Vicky, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for your time. Oh, I think you're on mute, my dear.
Oh yeah, sorry. So yeah, can I share my screen?
Yes.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen. So hey guys, thank y'all so much for being here. So I'll just be going over like how to find scholarships. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just be going over how to find scholarships. I'll introduce myself. I also want to leave a good amount of time for you guys to ask any questions that you have about the scholarship process. And if any of my Securing Degrees family is on here, then hello, thank y'all for joining. I know a few of you guys said you were going to be able to make it. But if this is the first time that you guys are hearing about me, my name is Victoria Lamar. And I accumulated millions of dollars in scholarships, have helped other people accumulate a lot of money in scholarships. So super excited to be here. So just a quick agenda. We're going to go over the different types of scholarships. We're going to talk about how to see if scholarships are legit or not, how to find scholarships. And we're even going to have a little exercise that you guys can practice, how to make the application process easy. And then we're going to leave off with a question and answer. So going into some welcomes and just to get you guys to know a little bit about myself. My name is Victoria Lamar. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. And so I started off at Jean Childs Young Middle School, which is then I went on to Westlake High School. Then I transitioned I started off at the University of San Francisco for my first 2 years. Then I went to Atlanta Metro, where I went to a community college for around a year. Then I actually went to Georgia State University. So I went to 3 schools in 4 years. I went to a private school, a community college, and a public school. So I know all about how to navigate those things debt-free. I started off actually majoring in psychology or neuroscience, and then I eventually switched to business administration, specifically managerial sciences. Some hobbies, I like to hike, I like to travel, try new foods, I like to read. My motivation, I always ask students, like, what is your motivation? Like, what's going to motivate you to keep submitting these scholarships, y'all? Because it's a lot of work. This is a job. And so for me, my motivation was my mother and grandmother, because it's no way I could even look at them and ask them to pay $60,000 for school. Okay, they would look at me like I'm crazy. So they motivated me to really take this application process seriously. And then some adjectives, if people would describe me, they would say ambitious, hardworking, and a risk taker. Also just to kind of show you guys a little bit about me, as like all of these pictures really like talk about my journey throughout the scholarship process. So I am a Jackie Robinson Scholar. If y'all are a high school senior or below, y'all can definitely get that Jackie Robinson Scholarship. And so Jackie Robinson Foundation, they afforded my class to go to Tanzania, and we stayed with the Maasai village. So this is literally like a Maasai warrior. With our security. This is me. It was a lot going on there. And so this shows some scholarship checks I've received. I work full-time for a company called Ernst & Young, which is a Big Four consulting firm. So that's EY. I crossed Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated fall 19 while I was in college. I'm also a realtor, so I got my license during my 3rd year of college. I've sold 5 homes so far. And so all of these things have been afforded to me through the scholarship process. The scholarship process literally like just gave me so many head starts in life. And I don't know what my life would be like without a scholarship, y'all. And so before I even talk anything about the scholarship process, I have to just really be transparent and let you guys know about my own personal stats. So my high school GPA was at around a 98%. That's weighted. So unweighted, it was probably like a 94%. And again, I'm sharing these stats not for you guys to compare, but just for you guys to see what I did and what it looked like. My ACT scores, I took the ACT 3 times. I started off with 24, then I got a 26. And then the last time I thought I was going to get it 28, y'all. I ended up getting a 22, and I just said, I'm stopped there, okay? So I stopped there with the ACT, highest test score was 26. Now, I just want you guys to look at the colleges I applied for with my 26 ACT, okay? So I'm sharing these stats to let you guys know that, yes, maybe some of you guys only got a 19, or you got a 22, or some of you guys might have a 36. I still applied to the schools that I wanted to go to with my test scores. A lot of these schools that I applied for, their average ACT, SAT scores are like 30s, almost perfect. So the schools in Black are the schools that not only I got accepted into, but I also received full rides from. And the schools in red, I was rejected from. So again, I just want to encourage you guys that even with my 26, not only did I get into UC Berkeley, but I got a full ride. Even with my 26, not only did I get into Emory, but I got a full ride. So again, as we have really been reiterating this entire process, if your test scores are not up to par, if you feel like your GPA is not up to par, you have to give in some other type of way. And so my way was through my essays and through my extracurricular involvement, because I personally knew that my test scores weren't going to be the best just because I know myself as a test taker. And then scholarships apply. I applied to over 60 scholarships to be able to accumulate these $3 million in scholarships. However, I was rejected from my first 30 scholarships that I applied for. So literally, I don't know what my life would be like had I given up after that 29th rejection. It literally took me over 30 rejections before I received my first scholarship. So a lot of the scholarship process to be successful is really mental. It's really like, okay, are you going to keep applying even though you keep getting rejected? If you're answering no, then you're not going to be successful in this process. So you really have to, again, change your mental when it comes to this process. You have to consistently put in the work if you want to accomplish a debt-free education. So now just going into the two different types of scholarships, we have two main types. You have your merit-based scholarships, and then you have your financial-based scholarships. So your merit-based scholarships are based off of you and solely you. So we're not looking at your family background or anything. We are looking at you as an individual. So that's based off of your community service, extracurricular activities, school involvement, grades, and test scores. The only difference between the merit-based and financial-based is not only are we looking at you as an individual, but we are also looking at your background and any extenuating circumstances that you've experienced growing up. So your story is really, really important when it comes to financial-based scholarships, as well as merit-based scholarships, but that's really the difference between the two. For your financial-based scholarships, it might be a requirement that your household income has to be below $150,000. That is going to be a financial base. If it doesn't have a financial criteria, then it's most likely merit-based. So it's really important to think about like, okay, what am I most qualified for? For example, your Gates scholarship is going to be financial based, whereas your Coca-Cola scholarship is merit-based. They don't ask any really questions about your finances and your family background. So also university grants. So it's really important to know that universities have money, okay? So we all have to understand that universities have money. Like, you just really have to put that in your head and know, like, it's no way that the school is asking me for all this money because I know y'all have money. You can look up these universities' endowments and see the millions of dollars of people who are donating to these universities every single year. So if you're going to pay full price, the joke is literally on you. And so as far as university grants, you want to look up all of those schools that you're applying for, go to those websites and see what additional grant opportunities that they have for you. This is the way that you can really get your school paid for very easily. And so, for example, I decided to go to the University of San Francisco, even though I still receive all these great full rides from these other schools. And the reason why is because USF was giving me the most money, and I was already profiting from the university grants that they gave me before they even knew about any of my scholarships, which I did not tell them about any of my scholarships. So thinking about University of San Francisco, I was a Black student, so I was able to get the Black Scholars scholarship. And so that gave me full tuition. Then, because I was involved, I was able to get the Getty Scholarship, and that gave me an additional $10,000 a year for me to do internships, really for me to do anything I wanted as long as I wrote it up in a proposal. And then I also received the Presidential Scholarship just because I had above a 3.3 GPA going to that school. So all of those scholarships have nothing to do with me being a Jackie Robinson Scholar, this scholarship, that scholarship. All of that came from the university. And that is an example of a university grant. So again, you have to understand that most schools give money, but it is going to take additional work. Some schools have additional applications that you have to fill out to get these monies. And some schools like Spelman, you just submit your quality application from the start, and then they'll see if you qualify for any university grants that they have to offer, okay? So let's think about how to search for scholarships. So whenever you're searching for scholarships, I tell students all the time, you have to be very specific with your keywords on what you're searching into Google. So for example, when I was applying for college, my searches in Google would be scholarships for African-American women studying business. Now, that's the easy part. You're going to have thousands of links that come up on Google search. Now you have to take the time out to go through each one of those links and identify if you meet the eligibility requirements. So you'll want to look at the household income, the ACT, SAT score minimums, your GPA, and then from there, you'll then capture those links and add it to its own Google Doc or spreadsheet where you will be tracking these scholarships. And so when you have a scholarship that you're eligible for, these are some questions you want to ask yourself to identify if that scholarship is legitimate. So is it free?
We'll go over there
You
later.
never have to pay
Yeah, I'll
for
get y'all moved later.
application. Does the scholarship have past winners? If a scholarship organization has no past winners, then it might not be legit. Does the scholarship application have a working email and or phone number? If you email the contact email, are you going to get flagged or a message that says cannot be sent? You really want to make sure that you're avoiding putting all your information into these databases that are not legit scholarships. Also, those no essay scholarships, just put in your name, social address, and you don't have to put in any work. I would definitely stay away from those scholarships. A lot of students, they come to me and they're like, hey, I've submitted 100 scholarships, all of the no essay scholarships. And I'm like, those are literally lottery scholarships. It's like 1 in a million chance of winning. So when it comes to this money, you are going to have to put in work. I have to be very honest. This does take work. None of us have magic wands where we can just, wave it and you go to school debt free. It is going to take some work. And so as far as making the application process easy, you guys can screenshot this if you want, but this is an example of how you can create your own type of tracker or a scholarship application system to track that process. And then you can just sort the document by due date and really be able to manage your entire scholarship process. And so if you're an underclassman, you want to go ahead and just get started on this very early. Maybe every Sunday, you can just go ahead and search some scholarships for an hour and just start creating your list. Even if you are a 9th grader, a middle school student, a sophomore, by the time you get to your senior year, you will have a very intense and extensive list that you can start using to submit those scholarships. So we can do like a little practice, but I also have a demo just in case I feel like it might be too much. But this is an example of a search that you would put in. So like scholarships for African
Carol's going to be sending an email out too.
American studying business. And then you would see that there are so many links that are going to come up. And so what you would then do is click on that link. And then all of these links are going to have so many scholarships that they found for you that they believe that you're eligible for. And now you'll have to, again, go through those steps that I taught you to make sure that it is a legitimate scholarship. Once it isn't a legitimate scholarship, you're going to just transfer it over to your scholarship tracker like this. And so this is another example, first generation scholarships for Hispanic graduating seniors. So again, you are going to find, literally it says 109 million results that they were able to find. So the scholarships are there, y'all. Y'all just have to understand that it is going to take work. Now, at Securing Degrees, we have many opportunities and programs to help you guys, but I am just trying to also show you ways that you can kind of do this on your own. If you don't want to spend the time doing this, there's so many platforms where you can buy scholarship lists or even just follow certain Instagram accounts, and you'll also be able to develop your list that way as well. So I always, I never can not say these key factors to remember because it's really important. The first one is your worth is not measured by your acceptances, y'all. So I get rejected all the time. Like I get rejected so much at this point. It's literally just become a part of my identity just because I put myself out there a lot. And you have to understand that your worth is not measured by your acceptances. Secondly, the application process is a learning experience. Literally everything I do right now stemmed from me learning how to submit my own scholarship applications as a high school senior. So a lot of these skills are going to be just extremely transferable to everything you're trying to do in life. The third one is you are not alone. You are not the only one getting rejected, y'all. Y'all are not the only one getting acceptances. We all feeling it. So you are not alone. The next one is rejection equals redirection. That was really big for me. I thought I was going to be a Coca-Cola scholar. I put that everywhere. And y'all, they rejected me. But then a few weeks later, I got a scholarship for the same amount. And not only did I get a scholarship for the same amount, but that scholarship was sent directly to me via direct deposit, y'all. So rejection is only redirection. You will get what you will get. What you don't get is simply not yours. The last one is share your story. If you know how to write, you can get whatever you want. That is 100% fact. So learn how to write, learn these skills, learn how to be persuasive, concise, compelling. That is a skill that, again, is just extremely transferable. And then the last thing is that you will be successful. Everybody's path is completely different. So I do have some frequently asked questions that students often ask, but before that, I did want to just talk about some of the services that we offer at Security Degree. So we pretty much offer everything as it relates to the scholarship and college application process. And so for everyone who attended today, I'll make sure I get your information so I can offer you a free consultation with our team where you can sit on a call with a scholarship expert and we can help you navigate and find the ways to obtain a debt-free education. So if you're a senior and you feel like you're behind, I'm here to tell you that you are not behind at all. Most of my seniors really don't come knocking on my door until May of their senior year, and I still help them get scholarships for their higher education before they start college in August. So if you're a senior, now is the time to start. If you feel that inkling in your body, like, hey, I need to get to this money, definitely make sure you reach out to us, you book that free consultation, and I'll make sure that I'm able to support you through that journey. But I'll just leave the slide here. And then if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. But thank you guys.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Vicky, for all of your wisdom, for sharing your story. And I love how your story is really authentic because it integrates failure and success. Like, I feel like a lot of the times we see successful people and we assume, you know, like the overnight success kind of idea. But you are very open about the fact that it was a process and a journey for you to get from where you were to where you are now. And I feel like everything good is usually a process. So I appreciate you highlighting that for all the students, for all the parents. Hopefully that resonates with everyone in here too. For all of the middle school, high school students who don't like their English class, you heard it from Vicky first. You need to be paying attention, y'all. Like, that is a life skill. That is one of the things I'm most grateful for from high school, was my high school junior, senior English teacher. She drilled us, but the way that that translated into the rest of my life was incredible. So definitely hear that and receive it and embrace that information. For the questions, Vicky, we did have a question earlier. I'm going to circle back to it. And it was kind of about the idea of integrating which school to choose versus the cost. So Esefo, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. He or she said, one thing I'm scared about for college is the student loans process, because I know teachers and people that still need to pay $100K in loans. So do you think that matters when choosing a college, or should we just choose what we love to do in looking for a college?
Yeah, I think it definitely matters because when you think about like student loan debt, even thinking about home ownership and just the limitations that debt can really carry. So I want every student to really take the loan process very seriously. And I feel like as a high school senior, we really don't think about loans. We think like, oh, we can get this $50,000 loan and we'll be able to pay it back tomorrow. That is not how it works, y'all. Okay, so I just have to be honest. And I'm always having these conversations with my parents and students. And I tell them that there's 3 options. You can either go to school completely debt-free, right? That means you put in the work to get these scholarships. This option takes effort, okay? It takes a lot of hard work. Anybody who went to school debt-free and they did it through the scholarship route, we all put in work. We did not wake up and just automatically get free college. It took time. The second one is either you can do some loans, some scholarships. Okay. So that's for some students who, you are getting some of the scholarships. Maybe you didn't get enough to cover your full tuition, but you are still dedicating yourself to the scholarship process. You're going to consistently submit those scholarships. You are going to not get accepted into college and then forget about scholarships for the next 4 years. You're going to be good. Then the third option is loans. Okay. And so it's really just goes down to those three options. Are you willing to take out the loans for your higher education? And do you truly understand the implications that takes? Or are you going to go to a school that you can afford? You don't really have to take out too many loans, and you feel comfortable with your own financial security as far as that option. So I really just think it depends on how you feel about loans. Me personally, I say no to loans, because I just honestly feel like there's so many institutions, so many great colleges where you shouldn't really be putting yourself in any type of huge financial burden when it comes to higher education, especially when there's options such as scholarships to mitigate that. So if you put in the work, that really shouldn't be something that you're trying to decide between. You would be confident enough that you did everything you needed to do to go to school debt-free.
That's a great answer. Thank you. And I know you've mentioned this before, kind of talked about your services, but y'all, Vicky is a resource for you. And there's a lot of pages like Securing Degrees. Obviously, they don't have Vicky's sauce on the things, but she is here to support you. Securing Degrees is here to support you. So I know it might sound overwhelming that you have to put in a lot of this effort, but you don't have to put in that effort alone. You can have guidance. You can get support. You can have people to help walk you through that and keep you on track with it. Because I know senior year is really hectic. You got sports, you have, just life, be life in. So I get you. So reach out to the people who are there for you as a resource, and you don't have to do it alone. We do have another question that a student sent in, and I believe, Rachel, you also had some questions from our social media as well. But the question that I received from a student was, Vicky, they wanted to hear your opinion on the PASE or POSE Foundation and its full tuition scholarship. I wasn't sure.
So PASE is pretty cool, depending on what school you're going to. That depends on what available options there is for you. I have many friends who've done the PASE process, and I think it's a great thing of being able to go to a school with a PASE that you're already familiar with. You know who they are. They have a lot of college prep classes and workshops before you even get to college to make sure you're acclimated. If you are currently going through the PASE process, I would definitely say put your best foot forward and make sure you just be yourself. They're going to be observing your behaviors and how you interact with people at these different interviews. And it's just really going to be important that you do not try to be nobody that you are not, y'all. Be yourself. That's really all they want to see. And if you can go all the way to PASE, kudos to you. You will be a PASE scholar. Just keep, putting positive thoughts in your head, especially when it comes to this process. If you don't get PASE, I don't want you to think that you are not good enough, you are not deserving. That is not true. There will be a better scholarship for you. PASE, some of the limitations to PASE is that it is binding. So if you do get accepted to that school, you do have to go to that school. But that is something that is understood before you even start the PASE process. So I hope that if you are going to the PASE route, that you do understand that you will have to go to that school. The only way you cannot go to that school is if you say it's for a financial reason or if you have some type of financial implication. But PASE is really, really good. So congratulations to whoever is matriculating through the PASE process.
Okay, thank you. Rachel, did you have any additional questions that you wanted to ask Vicky?
Actually, I was at first not going to, but I will ask just a closing-ish question before we move on to our next event. And it's just advice on how, what do students that are feeling hesitant to start applying? Because I know I definitely experienced that too. When I was applying to college, like I know that the money's out there, but I don't know if I really have what it takes to like, or I stand out that much and I'm worthy of all this money. And I feel like sometimes like maybe imposterism or like insecurity kind of gets in the way of you even starting, even if you have all the tools. So what advice do you have for a student that's maybe feeling hesitant to start this process?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think the main thing is to remember is that the schools want you, scholarships want you. They thrive and continue to come year after year, literally because of you. So I think it's really just important to understand your value in this process. And like others mentioned earlier, I also work with so many students who feel like they don't have a story or feel like, I have done nothing in life. And I'm like, we are the ones pressing submit, y'all. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know y'all are the ones that press submit? Y'all are the ones that are submitting your application. So you should be making sure that you put yourself in your best light at all times. If you feel like you only go to school and then you go straight home, are we going to write that in our applications? Hey, my name is Victoria Lamar. I go to school and I go right back home and I get in bed, I watch Netflix. And that's why I need to go to this college. No, we get to decide what they want to know about us. We get to decide what they hear and know about us. So it's really important to take advantage of that. And that's where it kind of comes with storytelling, learning how to really tell your story in a way that is going to be persuasive and is going to be compelling. And the way to do that in this best way is to be as vulnerable as possible as you can in this process. This is a very reflective process. Like my students, I feel like this is like a journal. I feel like a psychologist. I started off college psychology, neuroscience major, and I feel like I literally get to do that through this work of being able to tap into students and really help them reflect. So I guess I just want to end by saying that every student on here has what it takes to go to school debt free. There's literally like no secret sauce to why certain students go to school debt free, why certain students don't. The only underlying thing that I've been able to notice from the thousands of students that I worked with, the students who go to school debt free put in the work. That's all it is. We put in the work and we're not scared of rejection. Okay. So if you have not received at least 30 rejections already, then you should still be applying to scholarships, okay? Because y'all have not exceeded where I have been, and I made it on the other side. So I hope I'm able to inspire you guys and motivate you guys that this is now the time to start your scholarship journey. You have what it takes to go to school debt free. I have proven to you that these schools have millions of dollars. So there's no reason why we should be taking out any loans, or just don't even say the loan word at all. Okay, let's just throw that out your vocabulary. So we're all going to go to school debt free. And so just feel free to reach out to me, schedule that consultation, and I can help you come up with a personalized plan to obtain your debt free goals.
Yes, thank you so much, Vicky, for all of that amazing advice. You dropped so many gems on this. Like I was even feeling inspired, and I'm not in college anymore. So thank you so much. And I really hope people have been really paying attention, because this stuff is really hard to come by. And definitely feel free to reach out to her and book that consultation if you want to get started on finding those fat, big scholarships for yourself. But yeah. So we're gonna move on to one of my favorite parts of Diversity University, and that is our college fair. So we have some college representatives with us today that are going to talk about their schools. And so I'm gonna open, how it's gonna work is like we're gonna have a breakout room for each college. So you can go to whatever room you want and like ask them your questions, anything you want to learn more about the school. Please try to go to all of them or as many as you can. All these students took time out of their days to be here and excited to like answer your questions. And you never know, you could find the school of your dreams right now from asking these questions. So don't be afraid, even if there's a school that you never heard of before. You never know, it might be it might be your match, it might be your one true love. So definitely don't be afraid to attend all the rooms. one thing to know is all of these people that are representing these colleges are, number one, college students. They are students right now or have been students before. And number two is that they are all mostly people of color. They have all, and a lot of us here are people of color, and we know that it's a very different experience in this life, especially in college as a person of color, especially if you're Black or brown. So don't be afraid to ask those questions in terms of identity and how they navigate that as well. That's the purpose of this college fair, to make sure that you are seen, you see people that look like you, that are where you want to be, and that you're able to access them and ask those questions. So yeah, this is going to be about 45, 50 minutes. So yeah, you have some time to peruse. So I'm going to open all the rooms. And if you ever want to talk to me and Sachi, we'll be in the main room. So you could feel free to come back in the main room to access any questions or chat with us. But yeah, I'm going to open them now. Have fun. And yeah, for the college representatives, you can go to your rooms now. I just opened them all. So yeah, have fun. Enjoy. Go to as many as you can. Enjoy yourself. And if you have any questions, any technical issues, we're here.
So next year, any student who you think might benefit from this, definitely let them know, and it will be a resource available to them in the future.
Can I share your Sunday thing with my high school group?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great, great. I will do that. And is it only for BIPOC or can anyone join?
Anyone can join. For that one specifically, that's open to everyone. Just send me a message about that. Like there's a chat box there that has like reaching out, contact us thing. If you send a message and say, I'm interested in the Sunday essay session, I will know what to do and I'll connect you to that process. But yeah, anyone can join that.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank
Okay.
you.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Tap
Thank
into the
Good
swag.
night. Thank you.
Good
Um,
night. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Appreciate-
So for the registration for the Sunday program thing, it says that the only available RSVPs are until August 12th. So I was wondering if like that's the website that needs to be updated.
No, so we were also doing webinars in association with that Sunday program, but those webinars have passed. But if you just send me either an email or like there's a contact us box on that page as well. If you just send a message in that with like including your email and say, hey, I was interested in the Sunday essay group, then I'll connect you from there. I can help set you up on that.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Of course, you too. Have a good evening.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Tap into everything we told y'all and shared in the bag. And yeah, we wish you all the best in your college
Thank you.
journeys.
Yes, thank you.
All right. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Please use your swag bag. There's a lot of fun things in there, a lot of cool companies in there. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of that, of the opportunities that are in it. Cool. Yeah, if anyone else has any questions too, let us know.
Yes.